Hello again, Ian Circuit with Mastermind Games here. This time, finishing the last of the Space Marines with the Dark Imperium box set and doing the Hellblasters. 09088 Stormy Gray to start with. And these are the heavy weapons troops of the Primaris Space Marines, exclusively using plasma weapons. The Plasma Incinerator, the squad that comes with the starter box, is just one option. I think two others. I have to double check my codex though. But good grief! I see that's how this is going. But yeah. And like all plasma weapons used by the Space Marines, these can be supercharged and potentially blow up in the user's hands, killing them instantly. And this is going to go on these plasma incinerator rifles. So I will pick out a few details later in another color. In retrospect, on the Death or Plague Marines outside, oh boy, it was a long day at work. In retrospect, I'm thinking maybe I didn't do enough coloration on the Plague Marines bolt guns, but I'm done with them, so I'm not gonna backpedal and strip paint off them just to do some minor modifications. It's okay. This is a 5-man squad. This can go up to 10 men, and I will eventually get that 5-pack of Hellblasters that GW's got on their site to max it out. I just realized I forgot to do the last guy's straps on his back. Take care of that real quick. One thing about having one cohesive color scheme for an army is it's easy to just apply it to everything across the board. While the Death Guard and Chaos Space Marines and Orcs have a lot of personality in each model, Space Marines in Town, not so much. At least not in terms of individualized coloration, anyway. They're too afraid of it from deep. I cannot speak, it's been a long day. They are too afraid to deviate from approved patterns to show any individuality, which totally fits with the Imperium in general, as being the most brutal totalitarian dictatorship ever to exist, which, according to both unofficial sources, like if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, and official sources like the Dark Imperium novel is way off spec for what the Emperor wanted. There's a sergeant here. Carefully get that little wire there, or hose, or whatever you want to call it. That. I forgot the bloody glove on the front there. I'll just take care of that real quick, like. And then 09044 tanned skin. I'm going to get the sergeant's flesh tone on there before I take a break to let this dry. But what may sound odd, here's not taking a break already. I've actually been painting all day since I got home from work. So while that Plague Rain video was finishing its upload, doing those Sector Imperialis objectives, which I'm not doing a video for that, but I will warn you, if you get those objectives, I tried covering the Xeno containment pod with painter's tape to keep the windows clear, and that just left a sticky residue I couldn't get off. So, give you a warning, I'd probably go for a brush-on primer to paint those details, not try to cover it up with painter's tape. That did not work. Okay, take a break, come back in a minute. Okay, next, Ultramarine Blue, that's 09188. This one's running a little thin. Hopefully I got enough to finish the job. Otherwise it'll be a few days before I can get more. Okay. Camera's been kind of funky. I'm shopping around for a better one, but still haven't found one that's going to do what I want it to do. Gotta be careful around the sergeant's half helmet there, because that's going to be that bright kind of cherry red or tomato red, depending on your opinion. So I might bring this up, might just do a separate video to talk about content and what's coming up, but excuse me, I tend to paint things in cycles or buy models for my collection based on sales, what local gaming stores have, etc. Now for Warhammer, I am going to focus over the next couple of months of maxing out the units I have, and I'm only painting one of everything, so that means getting more Primaris Intercessors to max out those units, and Scepters to max out that one, that 5-pack of Hellblasters to max out this one. More Plague Marines, more Orcs, just to put these units at maximum size. And I'm not painting all of those on camera, I'm basically doing one of everything. I have a bunch of War Machine and Malifaux stuff coming up, but this is not, well, this is the last Space Marines unit from the Dark Imperium set. It's not the last Space Marines thing I've got. I've got 2 units of, or 2 tactical squads, and something I'm just going to keep a surprise for now. In addition to the Start Collecting box. So, yeah. So after this, I've got the Poxwalkers, then an Orc Truck, a Tau Cadre Fireblade, some Orc, oh boy, I just said it, Urk, this is how my day's starting, some Orc Burnaboys, and then getting into some other stuff after that for different games. So, that said, if I don't do any Warhammer videos for a while, don't worry about it, I'll get back to it eventually. For the top, oh boy, I cannot speak today. This sets a certain precedent for today, oh boy. My top 4 Warhammer 40,000 things I want to get that I don't have in the foreseeable future are all Space Marines, but a Land Raider, Assault Marines, Terminators, and Centurions. There's just something about those models I like. So I don't know when exactly I'll be getting those. It's just going to depend on circumstances. But I'm also going to be getting the Kickstarter rewards for Relic Knights 2nd Edition before too long here, another 2 months I think. Current shipment schedule on that for backers is end of May, end of May, so got that coming up too. In terms of order I paint things in, I generally paint things in the order I buy them. I do have a huge backlog I'm still trying to push through, but I will jump things around in that queue based on what I actively play. So, for example, War Machine is my favorite game, so those models generally get pushed up to higher priority since I actively use them, while Malifaux I'm not actively playing right now since most of the local groups have kind of died out, at least for now, so those get lower painting priority. And then, as I mentioned with these Sector Imperialis objectives I got the other day, that's just something I work on between videos, and there are models I'm not going to paint on camera with, as I mentioned in the last video, Robotech RPG Tactics being one of them, since that game has just been discontinued. There's really doesn't seem to be much point in painting a discontinued game. But it's kind of a rough overview of what content's coming up in the next couple of months. There's a lot of Malifaux stuff coming up, actually, thanks to a sale at a local game store. It's basically going to stop carrying Malifaux, so they're just trying to liquidate everything they got. Trying to pop that little bubble I put in there. Again, I'm looking for a better camera. It's not finding one that's going to do what I want it to do, though. A GoPro would, but that's more money than I want to spend and more camera than I need. I will eventually switch these videos to first-person point of view once I find a decent camera that I can actually wear. I mentioned this in an earlier video, but I tried doing that with this camera, but it just didn't work. Didn't work out, and it kept filling what was above my hands instead of what I was seeing. No matter how I tried to adjust it. So I would say there's a couple of lost episodes of this series while I was getting the hang of the camera, but I didn't actually bother to save any of the footage from it since there was literally nothing to see. Almost forgot I have some Space Marines Devastators coming up too. And then, as I also mentioned in the last video for the Plague Marines, one of my favorite games, Monster Apocalypse by Privateer Press, is coming out this fall in a second edition as a non-collectible game. So I will definitely be doing painting videos for that. Looking forward to that because that was an amazing game. Quick to learn, just fun. Quick to learn, quick to play, and just fun. Okay, well, I think I got enough paint, but I'll still need to make a run to the store in the next couple of days to get more. This isn't the only color I'm running thin on. Two down. Okay. And on Mastermind Games related news, the resin situation I've been talking about on the Facebook looks like it's finally getting resolved, but we'll just see, because the kicker is, do I actually physically receive the missing item that has been just poorly packaged. I fully understand the need for a business to cut costs when they can and do the least expensive option that actually works, but when customers aren't actually getting what they pay for, that's when you gotta think about spending a little more money on packaging and shipping. And I will... Currently I'm only configured for US shipping. I will eventually bite the bullet and get set up with UPS to do international. Kinda got away from mold making the last week and a half because of this situation with the materials, but getting back to that next couple of days and finishing up. But once the molds are done, it doesn't take long for me to cast. So the set I'm just about to release will take a little longer. It's not going to increase the price because I'm not going to put in a price increase for the extra time it takes. It just seems unfair. Right. Okay, and I see a little bit of the body glove I missed. That happens, so patch that up off camera. And I'm still going to be sculpting new products for Mastermind Games, but I'm going to be holding off on mold making until I get sales in, as that's one of the more expensive parts, and really can't afford to keep putting the money into it till I start to get some of that back. But I'd say I'm about, a third to halfway done on the sculpting on the product after the one I'm working on, which I've talked about a little bit but not in depth on Facebook. And then the bases for the two sets after that are cut and ready to go. I only sculpt one set at a time because with this last one I tried to do two at once and it just split my focus too much, didn't work out. Instead of getting things done twice as fast, I wasn't getting anything done, so... What this could mean is, between now and the time I start to get consistent sales, means I'll basically be putting together a backlog of unrevealed new products. That'll also mean one of the longest development sections, which is the sculpting, will be already done. The mold making doesn't take that much time comparatively, but it is more expensive due to the materials costs. And I do everything by hand, because the 3D printing is more for rapid prototyping, at least the level it's at right now, than it is for production, and I don't have the money, or more importantly the space, for that equipment anyway right now. Eventually I may switch to that. I have ideas for other products and games that are just going to be secret until I get more established, but it's coming up. Still keep resting on my humerus. Gotta watch that. This hobby, you've got to be sitting comfortably. Okay, getting there. Need more paint. 09188 Ultramarine Blue. Okay, just a little more. That might do it. Just being slow and deliberate here. So I suppose I should state, on requests for me to make certain themes or terrain sets for Mastermind games, I really don't do those. The one after the forests that I'm working on is a request, but it is from an actual personal friend I game with almost every week. I also have a pretty elaborate, I suppose, plan or list of sets I want to make and what order I'd like to make them in. So I prefer not to deviate from that too much. Again, what that list is kind of a secret, copywriting and protecting myself from business predators and all that. There's no shortage of sleaze out there. You don't have to be an animal to protect yourself, but... Or, I said that wrong. You don't have to be a jerk to succeed in the business world, but you do have to protect yourself from people like that. Which in my case means secrecy until copywriting is filed, since those are retroactive. Okay, the last one needing the blue. Wait, did I get the last guy? Yep. I missed the last guy's cod piece for a minute there. once all the blue's on here, gonna let it dry and start working on the secondary details, the purity seals and the insignias on the chest and all that good stuff. Touch-ups to the gray. You'll notice here sometimes I'm using broad strokes, sometimes I'm just kind of dabbing on. We'll say I would not overthink exactly how you're applying paint. Just start and let your instincts kind of tell you what type of stroke to use. This just takes, again, lots and lots of practice and patience. And the patience aspect is also why I don't edit these down to, 20 whatever minutes. Since my intent is to show the entire process start to finish, I'm going to show the entire process start to finish. I said before, this is not a hobby for impatient people. I think I got exactly enough paint to finish the job here. I will definitely be making a trip for more of the next couple of days. Another little tip is if your paint seems a bit thick or clumpy, put it on a larger area like this boot, for example, before moving on to a more finely detailed area or a smaller area. When you see me, especially during shading, brushing on the palette after getting paint on, that's another way to deal with it if it's too thick or too much or too thin, that deal there. Okay, that's got it. Let that dry and move on a little bit. Okay, 09004 fire red. If the paintball will play nice with me. Oh, there we go. Okay. And this is just going on the sergeant's half helmet here. Okay. Then 09161 Shield Brown. And this one's just going on the holsters for their sidearms. Which in this case are bolt pistols. Then 09002 Deep Red. Is the Sergeant the only one with a purity seal on these guys? Huh. Guess he is. Okay then. And then 09143 Yellowed Bone. Could have sworn that some of the others had these, but I guess I'm wrong. Okay. And then I think 09050 Antique Gold. Mix this up very thoroughly. Need something to drink really quick here. Just I have an espresso maker that's probably paid for itself 500 times over since I got it. Okay. mentioned this once a while ago, but a friend of mine who I play War Machine with criticized Warhammer 40,000's sculpts for lack of detail, or more accurately, covering up details with weapons. And I gotta say, he's got a valid point. The emblems on the chests of many Space Marines are highly detailed, but they usually do get covered up by bolt guns or other weapons. Got to watch my elbow. I keep resting it on my humerus, which just makes my arm go numb, which is not good anyway. Right. Gonna have to buy some new brushes soon, I think. Okay. Well, I'm now up past book 8 in The Beast Arises. And aside from Vulcan reacting to the Imperium of Man about the same way that Gilliman did when he came back, got probably the only humorous moment in the entire series. Invading the Orc homeworld, the head of the Astra Militarum backing up the Space Marines, points after getting strafed by orcs in his command vehicle, a Baneblade if I remember right. Points to one of his lieutenants, who has never been that close to a firefight either, and asks him, "Please remember to carry your las pistol," pointing to an empty holster. Probably the closest thing to genuine humor that I have seen in that series. It's not supposed to be funny, but Nice to see something like that in there. And then I'm going to take now, where is it? 09206 Tarnished Steel. I'm going to pick out a few details with this. And based on that Plague Marines video last time, I feel I should have spent some more time on the bolt guns and other weapons and picking out a few more details there, but didn't. So, get these plasma incinerators. Just hitting up a few things here and there. Wheel these canisters. Let's see, anything else? Actually, I think that's pretty good. Just getting those two little details there. A little bit much paint there. Alright, and now the sergeant. Okay, aside from a few touch-ups I'll do off camera, that's base coat, so once that's all dried up, I start shading. Huh. Okay, starting on shading, that was odd. Let's see. 09205 Blackened Steel. Again, with base coats, you're going from lowest area to highest, shading high to low, and then highlighting low to high. And again, about half paint, half water. Though you may need to use more water than paint if you're going for a lighting effect. And there will be lighting effects on these once I get a little farther. And then red brick 09001. Tiny dot of that because there's only one purity seal to worry about. And then 09160 Woodstain Brown. Another thing on shading is you especially don't want to hit areas that are adjacent. Otherwise your colors are going to run into each other because of how wet they are. So for example, I can do the purity seal and the steel here, but I can't do that parchment just yet. But I can do the holsters for the sidearms, and I can also do the gold and the red on the sergeant's half helmet there. Then 09003 blood red. Carefully dab this around the helmet here. Or at least the part he's wearing. Okay. And 09049 Ancient Bronze. This one's about cached. I got a spare though. When I buy paint, I tend to just buy the whole triad. If one's about cached, then the others are probably not far behind. So on the topic of which Primarch's next, I was mistaken about that Rogel Dorn model I mentioned in an earlier video. It's apparently just for the Horus Heresy game, not necessarily intended for Warhammer 40,000, so that's up in the air again. But when I'm really only playing Ultramarines, I'll probably collect the character models, including any Primarchs that come out, as well as the specific characters for the chapters I don't collect, like Cave and Shrike and Vulcan Heston. But getting those guys is going to be a very low priority. So one of those, I'll probably get them eventually and do videos for them, but something you don't want to hold your breath on. I think that purity seal on him is dry enough. I can go ahead and do the parchment before I stop. Actually help speed this along. Let's go ahead and hit the gold here. See, I did nick that, but again, diluting it with even more water and blotting it out will clean it up quick. And then stained ivory 09142. Yeah, that tiny dot's plenty. And just run that along the parchment just like that, and we're done. Let that dry, then move on to the blue, then the gray, then I can start highlighting and doing lighting effects. Okay. Not the right one. 09043 tanned shadow. A little bit of that. It's only going on the Sarge here. And Ultramarine Shadow 09187. Just set the sergeant aside and get him last to give his head a chance to dry. And careful around the gold. That beep is of no consequence, it's just some update to my computer. Or some message that probably isn't actually that important. One down. I'm resting on my humerus again. I gotta watch that. It's very uncomfortable and makes my arm go numb. And 2 down. trying to get hyper-focused here, so I'm not talking too much. As I speak, I'm really trying to get all the shading and lighting effects done tonight, so I can do the highlights tomorrow morning and get these guys finished for a game I'm having with a friend. And that's the halfway point. Again, the speed I'm going at comes with practice. Been doing this for 20 years. Actually more than, so. Okay, last one. Be real careful around the head. I just want to get the blue, not anything else. Okay. And being careful around the parchment on the purity seal. Okay, that's done. Let it dry, move on to the gray, then to the lighting effects. Alright, time to shade the gray with 09037 Pure Black. That might be enough. Another note, these tiles sitting out around here, these are just quick custom objective markers I made, just base I'm never going to use, filled in with some sculpting putty, and with a Roman numeral carved in, or what Warhammer would call High Gothic. Okay, and this is just going to go along those on the side of the helmet. The plasma incinerator is here. Excuse me, the handle of the bolt pistol. Then the gray of the body glove in the joints. And this is thinned out a bit more than usual. Because if it gets overly dark, it will muddy literally everything else about the model, so. Two down. Boy. And no, this is not easy. Again, I've got literally decades of experience doing this. Well, 2 to be exact, but still, plural applies. miss? Yeah, it did. And it's fixed. So you see right there, the black bled into the blue there. Washed out. That's actually okay here. Again, just need to be cautious and meticulous. And now we're up to the sergeant. Be especially careful on his helmet. I have a feeling no, that's where I started. Start on the areas I was most likely to forget. Be very careful around that purity seal. Don't want to nick it. Okay. Once that's dry, I can... Oh, almost forgot the slider on there. There we go. Once that's dry, I can start on the lighting effects. Start on the lighting effects. Huh. And you got a little delay. 09039 pure white. Get that in a certain size first. Just going to start in the eyes all around before I move on to the weaponry. And then the coil right here. This array right here. these slits in the side. The barrel here. Repeat for the rest. Not worried about it getting onto the gray too much because that's going to get covered up with the highlight to a certain extent, and the bit that doesn't will help to give a glow effect. As if the weapon is barely containing the volatile energy it projects, which is actually very appropriate given how plasma weapons in Space Marines faction work. And I just painted myself. It'll happen eventually. Don't worry about it. It's also a reason not to wear your best clothes while painting. Two left. And the Sarge. I'll go ahead and get these buttons on their forearms here and up. Okay. Backtrack to that one, make sure I get the second one. Okay, let that dry, and then a bit, get the actual color in that shading. Alright, Time to start on the lighting effects. 0910, 09101 ruby red and a book I was reading just fell down. It's okay. Not a big deal. This is mostly going in the eyes. Thinned out more than usual. I'm going to put this on these controls too. He's got normal pupils in his eyes. Get those. I'll just go ahead and do them right now while I'm giving that a second to dry. So that's just going to be pure black, 09037 again. And even a tiny speck is going to be plenty. Carefully dot that in. Just like that. And now sparkling blue, 09104. Thin that a little more, I think. Okay, after that all dries completely, I'll start highlighting and finish up the details. Okay, I'm awake, I'm caffeinated, let's finish this. 09045 tanned highlight. Just a little bit of that, that's only going on the sergeant's face. Or, well, head more than face, I suppose. And then, is it? 09089 Cloudy Gray. Oops, I got the elbow on the, yeah. I'll just backtrack a little and do that. Again, you're just lightly dusting. And the speed with which I'm doing this is just coming from years of practice. Okay. a little more here. What is it? 09005 Phoenix Red. That should be enough because that's just going on the sergeant's helmet, or his little half helmet there. Well, knocking paint around. Ultramarine highlight is next, 09189. I was getting a little coffee while I mix that up. And as you can see right here, that is my latest read. Still working on it, but yeah, that is next part of the Beast Arises, and is literally the birth of Death Watch. Decent read so far. Oh, back grip. Yeah, this is literally the first thing I'm doing this morning because I really want to get this done. I mentioned in the last clip, going to be playing some 40k with a friend tonight. I'm going to have these guys ready for it. You know, I just thought of something kind of odd in the rules. It says specifically in the Tau Codex, you can only take one commander per detachment. As in one, I'm assuming word with, or model with the word commander in it. Though I don't know if that includes special characters like Commander Farsight or Commander Shadow Sun. I'm sure it definitely applies to the generic commanders, but there's no similar rule for Space Marines and Captains. What does that sound? Odd squeaking sound coming from somewhere. I'm not sure if it's the chair or outside. Huh. Let's think a minute. How many captains are there in Space Marines Codex? Off the top of my head, let's see. There's just the regular captain, Captain Terminator armor, Captain on a bike. There's the Primaris Captain, Captain Gravis armor. So that's 5 right there, and the Tau Commanders have just 3 choices. The Commander in Crisis armor, Commander in Crisis Enforcer armor, and Cold Star armor. I get it. And I just kind of feel the Space Marine should have a similar rule. But then again, maybe there was something in Chapter approved which I don't have yet. Just food for thought. And the shade on his helmet got extra dark. I'm not quite sure how that happened. That's alright. I get the impression across a lot of the lore I've seen that Imperium equipment is handmade. I've read somewhere that Space Marine armor is typically composed of hand-me-down pieces from heroes past, worn with great honor, so okay. 2 left of the blue. I'm making myself numb again. I get a better office chair with elbow rests, I suppose. Or with better elbow rests, opposed to hard plastic. I'm going to need a little more paint to get the sergeants. Gotta have to finish this guy here, though. careful around the purity seal. Which apparently is actually parchment and wax. Seems a little odd, but okay. Let's see, I'm just looking at the colors here. I think I need to touch up a few real quick before I move on. But speaking of purity seals, in the last volume I finished, The Beast Must Die, actually described a Black Templar's ritual where they're, oh, I forget the word they use for chapter master, but it's different. I'd have to look it up in the codex again, but chapter master cuts his own hand open, bleeds onto a parchment in a rough approximation of the symbol of the Black Templars, and looks at it to divine what they're going to do before tearing it up and using a candle to affix the strips as purity seals to his battle brothers. And to kind of quote something from Brufa Alpha Busa, I think I'm getting that right this time. His series, If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, the Black Templars are a little weird. Okay, dry that out. Clean it out a bit more. Shake that kink out of my arm. No one to blame it myself on that. Okay, Driftwood Brown 09162. Got it down to just a few little ones. That should be enough. This is just going on holsters for their bolt pistols. On Halloween, you kind of want to go against the grain, to use a woodworking term. Going against edges, generally, as opposed to with them. That makes the paint hit them better and makes them stand out more. Got this a little more wet than I normally would. So that's what's causing that pattern, that splotchiness, but that's okay with me. If you didn't want that, then just make sure your brush is completely dry. Let's see. 09051 New Gold. And since the emblems on the chest are largely obscure, just giving the most cursory strokes to that. So I'm only about 4, maybe 5 chapters into this, but got to read a Blood Angel go in full rage mode. That was entertaining. knew there was a rivalry between the Dark Angels and Space Wolves. But apparently it's so bad that Dark Angels don't even like being in the same room as Space Wolves. Alright. Next, True Silver 09207. I lose my mind if I almost put the paint on the towel or the little carousel I put these paints on. When I say carousel, the lamp I have up here is connected to a base that has an actual little carousel with trays in it, which is just nice for storing these paints as I work. I tend to put the bulk of them in there, as many as will fit, before setting them aside on other areas. Again, on the highlights, I'm more concerned about the readily visible surfaces. Okay. 2 colors left, and they're both exclusively on the Sergeant. Go with 09144 Creamy Ivory. Tiny Dot. Apparently there's only one purity seal in the group. And Blood Red 09003. Again, Tiny Dot, because I only need a little bit. Okay, and before I do the writing on the purity seal and hit the markings and basing, I'm going to let this dry completely while I look up the iconography. Finish up? Huh? Today on Delayed Reaction Theater, this camera. Okay, so first, 09100 Pearl White. It's going to be the last real quick highlight here. It's going to do this on part of the plasma incinerators. Just kind of kiss the top of this coil here. Then 09039 Pure White. The right brush for the job here. It's a bit too beat up. Okay. That's just the wind blowing stuff around. I've got the window open because it's a pretty decent day. I need to air out my condo. This is the marking for a fire support squad. Okay. And now finishing up with 09037 pure black. A little more than that. Oop. This one's about cached. I'm pretty sure I got a backup though. And this is just going to go all the way around the edge of the base. Just give it a nice finish. Didn't stray off the top too much, but still makes it look nice. Being careful on models whose feet come close to the edge. I want to hit the base, not the model itself. Then actually, since I almost forgot again, I'm going to take that black and just do some tiny scribbles here. represent script. There we go. Nothing too big. Doesn't have to be that fancy. It's just giving the impression, but on a larger surface I would actually write something. Okay. Once that's dry, then I base. Okay. Time to start basing. So, like every other time, plenty of white glue. If this thing cooperates this time, it ain't right. There we go. Oh, where's my eyedropper? Oh, you gotta love burying your equipment. There it is. So, plenty of water too. Sacrificial brush. And carefully painting around the feet of the model. And I'm using that rock debris talus again. I think the last couple of times I didn't have quite enough actual glue in the solution. Okay, and then taking a dry brush, I'm just going to knock off the excess there. That's not working so well. Let's find a different one. Let's quickly double check the other one. It's actually better. We're good here. Oh, that happened. It's okay. Oh, and I should talk about basic materials. This isn't actually just one kind of talus I use. I've got a mix of fine, medium, and coarse in here. So I tend to just shake it up really good. I do the same thing with flock, giving generally a mix of shortly cut static grass and actual flock in there to give a varied texture. Okay, let that dry a bit before I seal it. Okay, time to finish up. Scenic cement, eyedropper. Just carefully dripping it onto the base, a drop at a time. These materials will absorb this quickly. You need to wait for it to dry partially, or the glue solution I mean, because otherwise this will push your materials around and make holes. I've had problems when I haven't given enough time to set a bit, or when I haven't used enough glue in the first place. It's a little trickier because this bottle's almost empty, but I can work with it. Always clean your eyedropper out, just run water through it a few times. And that is it, the full 10-man squad of Primaris Hellblasters from Dark Imperium box set. Taking one more trip to the Dark Imperium with the Poxwalkers, and then we'll move on from there. Good grief. Okay. So this is the last Space Marine unit from this set, but it's not the last I have coming up. Till next time, I am Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games signing out.